Good afternoon, you people out there. My name is Scott Churchson, alongside Mr. JD Walker and Mr. Brandon Kay, and welcome to the Sports Den on Spangler's World Network, Zingo TV, channel 250. Kindly remember to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. When you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Both apps are free, so you can't beat the price. By the way, Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and all smart TVs 2016 and forward. Hope you guys are doing awesome out there. We are now, at this point, almost 48 hours away from the Super Bowl and what happened there. We're definitely going to be covering that tonight. Maybe talk a little Olympics, maybe talk a little basketball. Very exciting. Also, I need to point out that in Major League Baseball, pitchers and catchers are reporting this. Oh, yeah. How you guys doing?
Doing great. No, I love that transition there. No, I'm definitely kind of coming off the Super Bowl high. It was very up and down emotionally, but I think ended up being one of the better overall Super Bowls in recent years.
Nice.
Doing fine. I'm doing fine. It was a much better game than I anticipated. Actually lived up to the hype. And so did the halftime show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking a little bit about that and what happened there and what that did actually for the second half as well. But yeah, I guess we're going to start this off. First of all, congratulations, like I said, to the LA Rams. Massive win in a very, very impressive, although a little slow-paced at times, Super Bowl. Matt Stafford could be at least in the argument for comeback player of the year. Obviously, he was not going to get it, but there's worthy of a somewhat slight playoff conversation based on what happened there. OBJ, bit of redemption. Aaron Donald, finally, after all this time, finally gets something. And yeah, I mean, kudos all around to La La Land. It's been a long time coming for that area.
Yeah, it was definitely a great game, and really happy for all the guys. Like we were talking about last week, between guys on the roster of the Bengals and the Rams, like they were all like feel good stories. They're all guys you would root for. So to see Stafford with his family and his girls with the confetti and Aaron Donald, like really, it was all great. And yeah, even though kind of maybe wanted Cincy to pull it out, I really think this was really a culmination of what the Rams have been trying to do, and they deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was also a bit. It felt sort of like a referendum on the way that the Rams put together their team, which had been the antithesis of how most NFL teams, championship teams in particular, have been put together, where they essentially have traded all their draft picks for quick fixes, and it worked. They traded the draft picks to get rid of Jared Goff in an NBA-style trade of, here, take this player we don't need, and here's extra draft picks. We can just get him out of here. And they got Matt Stafford out of it. And, trading for Ramsey, trading for Von Miller, signing OBJ off the scrap heap. They took a lot of gambles over the past few years, and it worked out.
Yeah.
Go
ahead, please.
I was going to say, just to a point of adding all these players, whether it be in the off season, last season coming into this one, or an OBJ, Von Miller mid-season, it felt almost like an NBA or MLB trade mid-season, where a team goes all in, you get pieces from other teams, you put it all together, and you go for it in the end. And even if it's only good for that 1 year, you went for it and it worked out. So I think Rams are kind of in between that, and if they can keep kind of the band together and go for a second round.
Which opens up a question, because if you saw it, and arguably one of the coolest moments, I think, wasn't even Aaron Donald or Matthew Stafford winning, but seeing the tears coming down OBJ's face. I thought that was, as a longtime Giants fan who's followed him since day one, honestly, that was the kind of human element moment that you just cannot help but get behind, even if basically you hated the guy. To see that kind of raw emotion coming out of him like that. Now, he has come out and he has said that he is willing to give a discount to stay in LA. He feels like it's home there. He's got the kid, I think, either on the way or maybe just gave birth. I mean, it was right down to the wire.
On the way, they showed them together, and he went down to the stomach. I think it's his girlfriend. They're expecting. Yeah, it's not. Baby isn't here yet. But
there was some talk that basically the kid might actually come out during the Super Bowl, in which case he's like, I'm out. She goes into
Well, that
labor. I'm
actually
leaving
did
the game.
happen.
that would have been two.
Jefferson.
Van
Yeah.
Jefferson had that happen.
Go ahead, JD. I'm sorry.
No, just it's sorry. Brandon and I both said the same thing about how Justin Jefferson's wife actually did go into labor during the game, and left the game for the hospital, and he and Jefferson went right from holding the Lombardi Trophy to running the hospital and holding his newborn.
And
Fantastic.
if he decides
All in
to
day's
actually
work.
stay in Los Angeles, go ahead.
I was going to say all in a day's work. I mean,
Yeah.
that, what's the next day going to live up to, right?
And then there's Beckham's range of emotions of going from catching the first touchdown of the game, catching another huge play, likely tearing his ACL, and finishing the game in street clothes. And the tears running down his face, like you said. Just it was a heck of it had a lot of the drama. Stafford going from misery in Detroit to ending Tom Brady's career and winning the Super Bowl all in one offseason. He's now in one offseason matched the same postseason success as Aaron Rodgers in 1 year.
Wow, that's a good point. But yeah, you look at somebody like that. Languishing, I think, is in some ways a good word to use when it comes to Detroit. And which brings up the question also is you got Jared Goff on the other side of the fence, knowing how close he got a couple of years ago, and then watching a lot of his friends that he worked with for so many years, at this point, watching from the sidelines from Detroit, languishing again, possibly being another word worthwhile. What do you think his thought process was?
He should count his money. He should be thankful that he signed one of the worst contracts in recent NFL history and count his money and be happy. Because he's barely an NFL level quarterback.
Yeah, that and I feel like there might be this weird kind of sigh of relief with him. I don't think he would have been able to handle any of the Beckham situation that had happened in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a total detriment to him. Having Stafford, who had been in Detroit for over a decade, could be as numb to any drama out there. And just whatever misery. But McVay, Stan Kroenke, and the Rams organization put the pieces around him to where he had nothing but the best opportunity to succeed. And like JD said, in one postseason, nailed everything.
Yeah.
Ended Tom Brady, went all the way through, won Super Bowl. You could have won Super Bowl MVP. But yeah, you really, it was a stretch.
No, it's got to be Cup, especially for that second touchdown.
Donald should have gotten MVP.
Donald had an argument for it.
The reason why is because I don't know if you guys know this, they cut the voting off at basically the 2-minute warning.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole last 2 minutes of the game, you can't vote. So, and when did really Donald make those huge impact plays? The last 2 minutes.
That's fair, and I don't disagree there. But when it comes to the MVP, all things being considered, even if they went right up to the end of the game, I think Kupp would still get it anyway, because despite what Aaron Donald brought to the field, 2 touchdowns is flashier, including the game-winning touchdown. So you're going up against the flash factor as well. And
also, everybody in the whole stadium knew Kupp was getting the ball. And he still got it. Neither Eli Apple nor anybody else was going to stop him, especially with some assistance from the refs on the last drive. That was the only real detriment to the game, was bad officiating.
Let me say this: those refs should never work a playoff game, let alone a Super Bowl game again.
There is that argument in this case, especially after that touchdown that started the second half. In some ways, it took a lot of the pressure. It added so much more pressure onto LA because of that face mask that should have been taken back. It should have taken the play back. Now, the interception was that was just on the LA anyway. That's their own fault. But that one there changes the emotional dynamic in a huge way.
It essentially ended up as a wash, with the with that non-call on the face mask being negated by the questionable calls on the final drive.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you think the calls on the final drive were a little more questionable on purpose to offset what happened?
Yes. Maybe not that they did it 100% with that logic, but that was definitely a major part of it. That
Makeup calls
face
are
mask for
definitely a thing.
Jalen Ramsey was so egregious. Stevie Wonder saw it. I mean, really. I get the ref being on the sideline from behind can't see that, but
Mhm.
there are other officials all over the field where they're looking at that, and to miss that is ridiculous. And I know you can't challenge that because there wasn't a call or
Mhm.
anything like that. It's not a challengeable call. But if there was anything that could be challenged, it was that.
Yeah, but
Ridiculous.
they're not going to make any changes probably for next year either.
Or next agreement.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that I think they're going to do. They're just going to just run with it as is and accept it for what it is. I think a lot of people do have the argument that you have, and I understand where you're coming from, but that's what happens when you have the human element into it, for good, for bad, for ugly. The human element is the human element. That's what it is.
I'm just
Eventually,
anti-ref a lot.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm anti-ref a lot.
Well, I think basically, again, Joe Garagio's best line was, the best applause a referee could ever get is dead silence.
Yeah. Usually, if it's refs or officials working your game and you've never heard of them, that's a good thing, because
you shouldn't even know.
Much like
there.
offensive linemen, you only learn their names when they screw up.
You shouldn't even know they're there.
If Obi was here, he'd have a different argument on that one too.
Yeah.
Being a lineman in high school, he has a certain emotional attachment to the lack of love that the linemen usually get. But now I want to bring something up in this point, because we talked about it briefly, but I want to get back to it. The halftime show caught a lot of attention because of the fact that it was a different approach than in years past. Because you basically had, if I remember correctly, about 6 artists, if you include 50 Cent Upside Down, in a 15-minute stretch. Now, I have the numbers here. I looked at them deliberately. The Super Bowl, once again, overall, the ratings are down. This is the lowest rated Super Bowl across the board in actually probably going back since 1969. Basically, I don't remember what Super Bowl that was.
I don't remember
Super Bowl
either.
III.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That pulled a 36 rating. This Super Bowl here pulled a 36.9, which is the lowest rating it's had in that entire run. So that gives you some idea. However, positive side for basically the youngins out there, it pulled a 29.5, which, while that is not as good as it was 2 years ago, was at least better than the COVID year. My question to you, and this is what I stand by, because of the fact that you had a musical demographic that is more a musical genre that is more suited to a younger demographic, do you feel that maybe that had a little bit of something to do with the rebound that it had for the last year?
I think it did help. But also, ratings up, down, or otherwise, it is still by far, and it's not even close, it is the most watched event on television every year.
True, but
something like 19 of the highest, something like 18 of the top 20 highest rated television events in any given year are NFL games.
But the
NBC said this was their highest TV show in 5 or 6 years.
It could be. I mean, I don't know when the last time they had it, but I'm not 5 or 6 years. I don't know.
Probably 5 or 6 years.
I mean, basically, if I guess
Super Bowl's in a 3-year rotation. It's a 3-year rotation.
Yeah, 3-year.
Their ratings that I have was a 33.4.
So maybe it was
oh my God, no. Their rating basically in 2018 was 43.1. This one was a 36.9 across the board. So it's not the best, but it's
certainly second. What Super Bowl? Who played in that one?
That was Philly and New England. That was that game. 103 million pulled in for that one. 99.1 on this one. So we have Star FM as far as our ratings go here. Leaving out COVID again. I mean, it's the numbers are down a little bit from 2 years ago when they had COVID on both sides of it, but it is something that I think the NFL is taking notice at and realizing, because what ended up happening, this is the interesting part, is their ratings for the second half went up and pressed a lot. I don't know what the exact number were, but the ratings for the second half increased dramatically because a lot of people tuned in for the Super Bowl and stayed put because the game was so damn close. I don't have the exact number on there, but I think the NFL is going to look at this going forward and see maybe we can go a little younger next time. Maybe we can take a halftime show that has somebody in, I'm dating myself hardcore here. I don't even know half of them. You know, I mean, I'm about ready to say Drake, but I'm like, dude, what are you, 2009? You know, we had The Weeknd. I can give you that one too. But suffice it to say, I think they're probably going to take it and they're going to go even younger next year to try and tap into the 1830 hardcore, or even a 10 to 30.
Great.
Hardcore.
So we'll get JoJo Siwa next year at the.
That'll work. Yes, JoJo Siwa's going.
There we go.
I mean,
Book it.
It's not like these. I mean, these acts are all in their late 40s and early 50s. So this, us, dudes in our 30s and 40s, are talking about it. It was mainly for us, people between the ages of say 28 and 50, loved it, and everybody younger says, "Who are these old people?" And everybody older says,
except Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg and 50 Cent, I think, are okay, and Eminem too. I think are right, but Snoop is bigger than ever right now.
Snoop, I think he is. I think out of all five of them, though, even including Eminem, Snoop, I think, is the more multicultural exposed, if that makes any sense, out of the five of them. Where between all this stuff with Martha and just he does just everything.
The two hosted the Puppy Bowl this year.
Every time I turn, I see one of his one of those the wine company he has with his face on the side of the truck. I see those.
He does Corona commercials with Bad Bunny. I know that. Oh,
Bad Bunny. He has the Corona commercials. He has his own branded 19 Crimes wine. The wine, yeah, it's actually pretty good. I bought a bottle of it the other day.
He did play-by-play for Logan Paul and Jake Paul fights on pay-per-view, so that more than endears him to that generation.
Yeah, I mean, with the spreading legal, basically his other life's passion is now essentially legalized in half the country. So that's a huge economic empire right there. So Snoop is the most recognizable out of.
And could we just address these people that are upset that he smoked before he went on stage?
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah,
I mean,
California, man.
Like, this is the sky blue? Is grass green?
Yeah.
I mean, are clouds white and gray? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I would have been concerned if he didn't. I would have been like, nah, something's up. He didn't smoke before this.
I'll be real. I think for as much experience and exposure as he has had, the halftime show, he was probably still a little nervous too. I think all of them were, and I think it's normal. You can't go into an event that big and not have some degree of butterflies in some way. I mean, that's not uncommon. There would be times where I would, go on, I would do something and I'd take a shot of vodka first, just to loosen up. I've done that for auditions on occasion where if I'm just nervous, I'll just go into the bar, take a swig and just calm myself down. It's not, I mean, the Super Bowl, like you said, JD, is the biggest sporting event in the world, pretty much the single biggest single day event. And, you have these five performers, we'll say six better, that are doing this on such an international stage. Dude, be thankful you're not crapping yourself.
And then that includes all the people that tune in just for the halftime show.
Yes,
just like the people that don't care about the game and just like the musical aspect of it. So for 10, 12 minutes or however long it is, they're going to watch it.
Yeah.
And then they'll go watch something, Euphoria or something else, whatever's on.
Yeah. I mean, half the people that were at my house watching the game don't care about football, but they were watching the halftime show.
And I think in this case, like I said, I think all things considered, NBC really nailed this one well. Now, I got a weird vibe on something. Don't know if you heard anything about this. I haven't. But there was a conversation at the end between Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth where they were talking about how much of a pleasure it's been working with each other. They've been working together for 13 years. Do you think at some point in the near future, maybe this year, is Al Michaels stepping down and Tirico's taking over?
I mean, he is 77 years old.
I know.
Soon. He's also, but he did an interview recently. I forget with which outlet where Al Michaels said, I'm not going to chill in a rocking chair anytime soon. So he was sounding like somebody who was not retiring. But they made a lot about the thing of for the last time, so it's the last game of the NFL season, so it could just be overanalyzing that. Although Tirico is clearly NBC clearly threw big bucks at Tirico to bring him in, where he's replaced Bob Costas on Olympic coverage, and he's going to step in as soon as Al Michaels decides that he's done. So It's absolutely.
Doesn't he also do NBC's golf coverage?
I think he
Yes.
does. Yeah, he's their go-to for tour de force in this case, in a lot of it. So yeah, I think barring something completely unorthodox, scandalous is a better word. He is the heir apparent, and I mean, again, Tirico's fine, but it's weird seeing that kind of a passing of the torch in some way. And this may be volatile what I'm saying, but seeing Tim McCarver step down in favor of John Smoltz, I've always liked McCarver dating back to the 80s. It felt weird to me when he stepped down. And I don't know. I mean, I know he's divisive a little bit. I'm not sure how you guys feel, but if I felt my heart got a little sad when I saw him stepping away.
I think a better comparison would be when John Madden retired. Going from John Madden to Chris Collinsworth is a big step down.
That was still a young Collinsworth.
While Mike Tirico is not Al Michaels, there's very few in the business that are. He's at least a worthy. He's a worthy next in line, and frankly, I enjoy watching and listening to him way better than I do Jim Nantz or Joe Buck.
Well, Joe Buck, I think they have it next year, don't they? Fox.
I believe so, yeah. Because if CBS had it last year, then it's Fox's turn next year.
Yeah, Fox has it next year around. The previous that year was the Kansas City San Francisco game, which again was the lowest rated one in NFL history in the 18 to 49 until this year. So who knows basically what's going to happen. I make one prediction though, if it's on Fox, Joe Buck will be trending on Twitter. Because Joe Buck always trends on Twitter when he has national coverage.
Yeah,
always.
Also, I think the teams had something to do with the ratings dip as well. Because because you have a small market Midwest team, and while the Rams are in LA the second biggest market, the Rams, we've talked many times about how the Rams don't have a national following. Neither of these teams has a national following, or even a hardcore regional following like you get with the Patriots, the Eagles, any Giants.
I would almost
the big boys weren't there this time.
I would argue that Cincinnati's hardcore fans are more hardcore than LA Rams.
There's just fewer of them.
I was monitoring Twitter pretty hardcore the other night, and anytime the NFL had a tweet that went out about each team, like basically video of the Rams going out, video of the Bengals going out, the Bengals likes and retweets and comments were always higher than the Rams on Twitter. So if that's any indication about the loyalty of the fan base, that's it right there. Now, with LA, obviously you have a lot of distractions out there. You have so many more teams. You got 2 NFL teams, 2 baseball teams, a hockey team. Cincinnati has the Reds. So again, you have that whole thing where there's just nobody there. And also to a degree, the Rams haven't been there that long. I mean, the Bengals have been the Bungles for decades.
Yeah.
So there's just so many decades of just angst and frustration just being vented out in this season right here.
It also can't be overstated about how Stan Kroenke also essentially hosed the city of St. Louis to bring the Rams back to LA as the centerpiece of what is essentially a huge real estate project, that SoFi Stadium is in the middle of. So you basically had nobody in St. Louis, in the St. Louis area, in that part of the country caring. Some of them, many of them were jumping in as Bengal fans, but a lot of people probably just not even caring. Or fans that aren't really fans of either team. Just didn't really. The juice wasn't there as much as there is with other more established teams with bigger followings. But the ones that are following, like Bengals fans are hardcore and are more into it. Same as you'd expect from Kansas City fans, Buffalo fans. They just don't have as much of a national following.
I want to bring this point up, and I want to see what you guys think about it. I don't think we've discussed it yet. Does this jump in ratings since even COVID or last year, do you guys think it has anything to do with the now national legalization of gambling?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Oh, hardcore, yes.
And we were talking
January,
about
I think it was like January alone, New York pumped out like $2 billion in bets. Like, it was absurd.
Yeah.
And to onto that point, that face mask penalty was the difference between the Rams not covering the spread.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know fully what would have happened as a result of that. I mean, obviously that's 7 points there, but you don't know what that second half would have been, in some weird multiverse where it was called. But yeah, obviously that had a huge impact, and people that probably dropped, thousands upon thousands to hell, millions of dollars to have the Rams cover that spread are probably looking exactly as you did to be like, that call just cost me $7 million right here. Or that non-call, I should say. Oh yes. Sports gambling. I think it's hardcore here to stay. I mean, I don't even know how many they've got.
Forgetting here to stay, but just the fact that somebody who might not normally have watched or fully watched, they throw a few bucks on it, whatever, $50. All right, now I'm watching the whole thing. Because especially with all these minute thousands of prop bets, we're trying to calculate anything that could happen. Yeah, I think they're going to be more.
Is the national anthem over or under 95
seconds? It was over. I clocked it. It was over.
Right.
It was over.
Is it going to toss heads or tails? Is a first play run or pass? I was, there was somebody else that was at my house and joking about betting on that. I said, no, prop bets are actually a thing. And she looked at me like I had four heads. I said, no, a lot of money is spent on this. And,
oh my God.
And Scott, not only is gambling here to stay, but Scott, as you've said about how the future of the league versus esports, whatever, the league's survival depends on these gamblers. Every other ad is for one of the sports betting companies. And these fans and the money, the gamblers and the money they put into it has made up for the casual fans that they've lost during COVID.
And that's, like you said, it is here to stay in this case. I mean, Barstool Sports has their own app now too, for heaven's sake. Everybody and their brother's got one. I think Spanglish Sports World will probably have its own betting app at some point in the near future. Eduardo, we should talk about that one. But in the ads side of things, we actually haven't brought this up. We talked about this a little bit through NFL Insiders the other day as far as the ads go. But in your case, in your opinion, better, worse, or about the same as always?
The commercials?
Yeah, I go worse.
Worse.
But then again, I yell at clouds. So,
I underwhelming to at least say, but if I really had to, I'd say I was disappointed.
It reminded me of the early 2000s and the .com boom with all of these crypto ads. For stuff I've never heard of.
God,
you had a crypto company that was ad with a crypto company paid $7 million, which is what the 30-second spot cost this year.
Watching my mom with her
code
phone
to bounce around the screen.
And you know what was funny? Like, if you had no idea and you just saw that it was going around, like, you could figure, like, I knew exactly what it was going to be about. Mm-hmm. Either the coin or NFTs or any of this new digital stuff. Yeah. It had to metaverse. It had to be something like that.
And yeah, it's funny because actually, I think it was Coinstar was that one specifically. Their server crashed because of how much you have. What's that?
I think it was Coinbase.
Coinbase. Okay. Okay. That will take it. Why not? But suffice it to say, their server crashed because of how many people were QRing their TVs.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah. I did too. I was like, I'm looking at that. I was talking to my wife.
I did. Once I saw it was crypto, I didn't.
Oh no! As soon as I saw
it, I got it out. Yeah.
But it was one of those things that you look at it and you're just like, they paid this kind of money, but it's kind of genius because everybody is like, I have no idea what this is, and that curiosity is what sold that. And I'm sure it probably paid them buckets of money.
Killed the server. There we go. Curiosity killed the server.
Exactly.
Although you think that they would, if they're putting all that much into it, you think they would have beefed up their servers a little bit before this event.
One would think, yes.
Worst case scenario, we should probably be prepared for an overflux of online traffic.
Now, my theory is on this, and there's two people here who used to be financial advisors. I almost suspect that this is a short-term thing, and eventually, when the bottom falls out, they'll move on to the next thing. And who knows what it will be at that point. But this, I feel like in some ways this is going to be a flash in the pan until it craps out.
That's why it reminds me of that was why
I'm way
I
too
made the
skeptical
comparison
still.
to the .com boom, because that's what it feels like. Where
Yeah.
there was one Super Bowl where it was all these, random whatever.com commercials, and half those sites were out of business within 2 years.
Yeah. Except for like whatever Mark Cuban owned, because he got out at the right time. He made his bank off of that, and then he bailed because he's like, I saw this coming. I mean, it strikes me also as the mortgage issue that happened in 2007 and 8. I remember that, and I remember that being on the horizon in 2004 and knowing what was going to end up happening. In some ways, I see the exact same damn thing. I see the exact same situation where eventually the bottom's going to fall out on this, and a lot of people are suddenly going to go bankrupt. But it will be what it will be. So
that's why I won't touch it personally.
Yeah, I'm way too skeptical.
No matter how many times Matt Damon tells you to be brave, which was mocked on an episode of South Park recently.
Yeah,
but
and were there more gratuitous celebrity appearances in the commercials or inside the stadium?
Commercials. Yeah, I mean the ones inside the stadium, you're expecting that from LA, but it was every single commercial was just like an average written commercial, and it's like, who will take our rate for this commercial? Oh, Kevin Hart, you'll take our $7 million. Here, go.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I feel like a lot of these commercials were just worried about having a celebrity or star power in the commercial rather than having a good commercial with good content and then adding the celebrity to take it over the top. Yeah, I think so many commercials missed out.
Yeah,
that Hellman's Mayo commercial with Jared Mayo, which essentially ripped off the old Terry Tate office linebacker theme from a few years ago and threw in Pete Davidson for whatever reason.
Well, Pete Davidson's a hot commodity right now too. I mean, that guy's in every freaking commercial.
Yeah.
But I don't know. For me, again, I'm the old fart here. But the Keeping Up with the Joneses, I thought was clever in my mind because it had an idea going into it, and then they're just like, okay, what Joneses can we get into this? And that I thought was smart. But to me, a lot of the commercials were just like an average run-of-the-mill commercial, which could easily have worked with some no-name D-list person, some character actor that you remember that died in Act 1 of an episode of Law and Order, and instead you got like, well, let's see what actor we can get on it. Oh, we can get Matt Damon. We can get Matt Damon to do something. We can get Zach Braff and Donald Faison to basically sing next to each other, just like they used to do in Scrubs years ago.
I want to know how much money Peyton Manning made just from that night alone.
Dude.
Between Michelob Ultra and Caesars and the NFL commercial with the video game, which was that was a great commercial.
Yeah, that was clever.
That was great. I mean, God, Peyton was just rolling in it.
But here's the funny thing about this, and this is something you guys may not know. Those are unionized contracts. So those are not like non-union gigs where it's like a local spot you get paid $1,000, $2,000 and you're done.
No,
they have to pay you every quarter, every time that thing is run anywhere around the world. It doesn't matter if it's in Bulgaria in the middle of the night; it still counts. And those residual checks will probably amount to 3 to 4 times more than what he got paid in the first year. He'll get paid in the first year for this.
So basically, you're telling me the entire Manning family has SAG cards now?
I'm sure they do. They probably got Taft-Hartley on that, yes. Because it's real easy to do that. Because it's like, okay, we have, I mean, JB Smoove is already in there from Curb Your Enthusiasm anyway. But as far as everybody else that was in that thing, you pay your union dues. They might even waive them for all I would know. And then you pay them under the union contract. And then you get the residuals on top of that every time any place that thing airs. And, oh, God, that money right there. I'm not going to go too far on this one, but he could easily, if he keeps doing commercials like this and all the commercials he does with Brad Paisley, he could possibly make more in those commercials than he does from his 22 Papa John's franchises that he owns.
If he keeps racking that up, then maybe him getting in on the Denver Broncos ownership bid isn't that far-fetched after all.
Dude, if John Elway wants to sell at any point, I mean, Peyton Manning can probably pay cash for it.
Well, Elway isn't in the ownership group, but it's because that was sorted out with the whole Boland family trust thing, and then all the legal issues sorted out there. But it's going to be over $4 billion that the Broncos are going to sell for.
And what if the whole Manning family just bought the Broncos?
They could,
really.
I think Eli's his his final contract was like $50 million for 7 years, I think. Anyway,
Bring in a couple more people and have the Mannings be the majority owner of the Broncos.
I don't. They don't have enough money. As crazy as that
Well,
is, that's a lot of millions. It's not $4 billion with a B.
No. You got to bring in some other people.
But again, in this case, like I said, you can always find you can find backers. That Manning name alone will be enough for it.
Well, that's become the new formula for athletes to get into sports ownership. Like look at the Dodgers. Magic Johnson is the face of that group, but the actual money is a bunch of hedge fund people. Mm-hmm. Same with Derek Jeter and the Marlins. If they want to buy like a minority stake. Like I think Kevin Durant actually invested in an ownership piece of the Philadelphia Union, which seemed very random to me since Durant has no known connections to Philly that I know of.
What's even weirder is LeBron owning a piece of Liverpool.
Yeah, he does.
That makes a bit more sense.
And the Red Sox now. And the Red Sox. He joined that group 2 years ago, year and a half ago.
I thought he was Yankees.
Well, keep in mind also
he's a businessman.
Yes,
that's what he is.
But EPL makes sense from that standpoint.
But LeBron is, LeBron, Magic Johnson, anybody like that, their face and their name are the brand itself. Their very existence is a brand. So Derek Jeter, you mentioned him, part owner of the Marlins. I mean, he needs something in this arena anyway. But again, the Derek Jeter name has pulled, or at least had it. My question in this case to you guys is: do you think his name isn't as valuable as it used to be? Because I just realized that no, I don't think it is.
It isn't, and
frankly, if I'm honest, just from what I've read, heard, and seen, I don't know if I would want him in my organization.
I'm debating that also.
I'm really at that point. First off, do you guys find it weird that he wants nothing to do with the Yankees?
It is odd, yeah.
Like literally, since he'd retired, took over nothing. I don't even know if he's been to the stadium since.
I think part of that is because he is owner of another team. He may not be allowed to have any kind of association with the Yankees.
He can make trades though. Remember your manager was a Yankee legend too. So it's not like he can't. And obviously they made the trade for Giancarlo Stanton a few years ago as well. But it is odd that he does turn around a lot of the appearance requests, even on big events. And maybe because in his mind he closed that chapter, and now his chapter is Florida.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
I can respect.
I think it's partly that, and also, go ahead, Brian.
No, I was going to say it's just not. He hasn't done a single thing with or for the Yankees in any capacity. And I get it that he's with a new team in a real high management position, but I mean he's not just some suit that you'd brought in because he's a smart guy. I mean, he is Derek effing Jeter still, So I think I don't know. It's weird to me.
I think part of it is also just Jeter's preference, where he even said around the time he retired that he wanted to turn the page and, start and go into management. And he really wanted to start a family. And I think he's got 3 kids now. So he spent his entire career in a fishbowl with the Yankees, playing where he was essentially the face of Major League Baseball, and everywhere he went was an event. So after having that for almost 20 years, it's understandable to want to take a bit of a step back from the limelight. So I don't know if there's any kind of personal issues with the Yankees or anything. I haven't heard anything about that.
Wow, I haven't either. It's just from the surface value, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it seems a little strange. I get it. That he wants. It's understandable to want to take a break and spend time with your family for a while after all that.
But he retired 2014, so it's been 7 years since he retired.
Plus, it's not like he immediately took the Miami position.
No.
And
but I think he immediately got married after that, though.
Yes, he did.
But I don't know. If we even have baseball this year, we can debate that, ad nauseum. But we don't know if we're going to have any baseball right now because, as Garrett Cole said, They're working to protect the integrity of the game.
No, they're not.
Shove it.
That was his tweet the other day.
None of the people involved on the players or owners' sides give a rat's patootie about the integrity of the game. Because if they did, they would actually try to work on making the game
every minor league baseball player, basically.
Yeah. Well, minor league baseball, they increased the number of games this year too, by 6.
They did that, and then they announced that they want to try and phase out more minor league jobs. That was a recent announcement in all of this. Yeah, because of course the billionaires are going to take it out on essentially minimum wage workers, less than minimum wage in some cases that they make.
Yeah, don't forget this is one example of many. But when George Steinbrenner signed Mike Mussina for 6 years, $82 million, he canceled corporate dental insurance. Just pointing that out,
Yeah.
So yes, and this is the team I come hell or high water root for. So. All right. Anywho, we got about 10, maybe 15 minutes left. This is the Sports Den. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. Find us always on Twitter at SSW Sports Den and also on Facebook and Instagram at Spanglish World Sports Den. With the remaining 10, 12, 15-ish minutes we got left, I do want to talk a little bit, since we're not going to get a chance probably after this, to go into the Olympics a little bit more. Last week, we talked a little bit about the Olympics. It may have inadvertently come off about maybe we were dissing some of the athletes. I don't know. I don't really remember what was said, but I do want to, congratulate them, obviously, because you bust your ass for literally decades to get there. What I will bust ass on, though, is the coverage of it, and NBC and some of the choices that they've made, both on USA and also on Peacock as well, about what they have chosen to air live, rebroadcast, or frankly, in some cases, not at all. I think it is in some ways disingenuous to some of the athletes who have killed themselves for all of this time to get themselves to this level, to deal with the kind of stuff that none of us could even handle a week of. And as a result, here in the United States, a lot of people in the U.S. really don't even care. I'm not even sure if you went down the street, if you asked 100 people, they knew when the Olympics were going to end, if you can get an answer of the 20th.
There also isn't the Team USA star power to the extent that there has been in past years, which is a big time blow for NBC. Yes, you have fantastic athletes in Team USA and all around the world. And what is usually the premier event at the Winter Olympics? Figure skating. Mm-hmm. What is the event that is stuck in an absolute travesty of a doping scandal currently?
Yep.
Figure skating. And to the point where they're saying if the Russian girl wins, that they won't even have a medal ceremony. Yes, that's because they might take the medal away, but they're still letting her compete. Yeah, okay. It's really tough it puts an unnecessary stench on the Olympics as a whole, and is unfair to the rest of the athletes who are competing fairly.
Fair. Well, you could put that into basically any sport too.
Yes.
Doping versus non-doping. So.
Yeah. And then although it is appropriately dystopian, for the visual of a downhill ice course being set up next to an abandoned steel mill that looks like the Springfield nuclear power plant.
Looks like Chernobyl.
It's an eyesore, yeah.
Post. Explosion. Yeah, no, it's like somebody, we've talked about this before. Like, I haven't watched any Winter Olympics in any event whatsoever. The sports themselves or the activities whatever you want to call them, they suck. They suck. Now, to go back to the athlete's point, you guys are doing a great job. I'm not going to knock you for having a passion for something, going balls to the wall with it, and making it to the Olympics. That's not the problem. It's the fact that these stupid activities exist in the first place. Like the ice hockey and the figure skating and those ones, I get. But like the rest of them, like I said this last week, it's how fast and in what mode can you fling yourself down a mountain the fastest?
one piece of wood, two pieces of wood, or inside a piece of wood.
Yeah,
I don't know. Curling. Listen, curling is starting to come up, gain some steam. Go figure.
Curling is fantastic to watch.
To watch. Let's also put curling into the acceptable Winter Olympic activities.
Which makes you wonder how that could be so popular.
The rest can go.
Yeah. Looking at the ratings, by the way, through February 8th, this is all I've got here. They're averaging 12.3 million viewers a night right now on NBC across the platforms. In 2018, they were averaging 23 million. So that is a 10 million, almost a half, nearly 50% drop off in a 4-year stretch, from one Winter Olympics to the next here. And it brings the question, what's going to happen in 2026? When the Winter Olympics rolls around, are they going to go exclusively to Peacock and continues to air, Superstore, SNL, and everything else they normally have?
Where is it going to be the next winter?
I don't know. I don't think they picked that yet, have they? Is it Italy? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I forget the name of the Milano Cortina, Italy, I believe, is where the 2026 Winter Olympics. Then you have Paris in 2024 summer, and then here in LA in 2028 summer. So I mean, personally think that the biggest issue with the Olympics is the fact that it is the third consecutive Olympic cycle that is in an Asian country, which means it's a terrible time difference for American TV viewers. And NBC trying to air the bigger events on tape delay during prime time coverage that happened when everybody's already received push notifications on their phone of that morning of what happened in the big events.
It's a far cry. And granted, this was Lake Placid, but in 1980, that was on a tape delay. And a lot of the Olympic copies.
But then you couldn't turn on your phone and go on Twitter and Instagram and
we
Facebook.
We could. I could as a kid. My father had internet access back then too.
No, you actually had to watch that and pretend that it was. That's why I will never watch a game today that has been taped. I will never do that. I will either miss the game and I'll watch some of the highlights, but I will never miss a game, then later on go back and watch the whole thing. I'll never do that.
Because it's past tense in your head.
And I'll feel stupid doing it, to be quite honest with you. I would feel almost dumb for sitting there watching something that at this point in time with technology, the whole damn world has seen. What am I doing? I got other things in my life to do,
So other people have other things in their life to do than watch the Olympics.
Live, when it happens, updates on your phone, or that's it. And the time period, in Asia, it's like polar opposite for us.
Yeah,
we can't keep up with that.
Paris, Italy, that's a little better in this case. LA, I think, will probably draw better viewership because it is home turf. And it's in LA. Well, LA had it in '84. Did they have it after that or no?
Good luck on the 405 freeway in 2028. Good luck.
That's going to be a little bit of a challenge there. Yeah.
The funny part in LA is that in '84, because everybody knew how much of a massive traffic nightmare it would be, so many people from the LA area went on vacation during the Olympics that the traffic was actually decent.
That's
because so many people just got out of Dodge.
I get the two baseball teams will probably be playing road games, I guess, for this 2 weeks.
Probably,
I would think.
Oh God.
You can schedule. You got enough time. Clearly, you can schedule a road trip. For East Coast and just knock out so many of your road games in that 2 week, 3 week stretch.
I mean, I got to look up what the Braves did in '96 in Atlanta, but I think they did the same thing.
Sure.
And go to Montreal and play. No, wait, that's a stupid idea.
I kind of want Montreal back. I mean,
I'd rather have Montreal than
none of this.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Stuff here. Yeah. No, I was poking fun at the MLB with that Montreal thing. Yeah, I would love to have a full team all in Montreal again. I love the Expos.
Well, if you remember, the Expos had that where they were playing half the games. I think Mexico or Puerto Rico.
Yes. Well, the Rays owner actually proposed a sister city thing to try and split the Rays half the year in Tampa, half the year in Montreal.
Right.
But the league did shoot that down. The existence of not one but two major league teams in Florida is an absolute joke.
Yeah, broke my heart when I was at Tropicana Field because the fans there were loyal. But they were just. It's 60,
an awful stadium in a worse location. That's why the biggest reason why they don't draw.
I mean, they had the entire
Orlando. If you want to stay in Florida, go to Orlando.
Maybe
Or Jacksonville.
Well, no, Jacksonville's got its own
Jacksonville's an even
problem.
bigger joke.
Yeah, they got. Well, he's just throwing out majors.
Florida with baseball. I don't know. I have no solution. That's my point.
The problem is basically you get the transplants that move down there, but they keep their original team loyalty. I mean, they have Mets and Yankees broadcasts down there. I was watching the Yankee game, the road game on there, while actually just like watching, one with the game I didn't go to, on the Yes broadcast down there. But
yeah, every time SNY shows Mets Marlins, it's always more Mets fans, or at least louder Mets fans.
And what crushed me also at the Trop, and like I said, I like the Trop, is they closed the entire upper tier. They had nobody up. They closed it off just to have everybody down below. Fifth row back behind the dugout was $50 seats.
They do the same thing in Oakland and in Jacksonville at Jaguars games. You're going to see a lot more, and you're definitely going to see a lot more of that if baseball is hell bent on destroying their own sport.
Oh boy, I mean, listen, you may have like the Can or the Frontier League. You got Atlantic League baseball. You might have something there. You might see an influx, a little bit of that. Where some Can-Am stuff, the New Jersey Jackals, the Sussex Miners. Watch out, they got a comeback here.
I got the Boulders up here by me.
They're not the Rockland Boulders anymore, are they?
What are they? New York? I think they're New York. I think it's just New York.
Well, New York's a trendy name. That's why the Red Bulls are the New York Red Bulls, even though they play in freaking Harrison.
It's the New York Boulders now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But you might.
We're talking about Jersey references. I have to go. If we slightly off topic from Super Bowl commercials before, but the Meadow and AJ Soprano GM commercial was fantastic.
That was clever. Yeah, it's funny. I was hearing that and I'm thinking to myself, are they plugging Many Saints in Newark? And I'm like, no, that movie already came out a couple years ago. Nobody cared about it. The Tony Soprano prequel. Yeah.
I thought the Larry David commercial was good.
That was clever.
I thought it was pretty funny. But again, like in a pool in a vacuum, like they all were underwhelming. So to have the few pick out and stand out in my mind. Another good one, the Lay's commercial with Paul Rudd and Seth Rogen.
Yeah, okay.
I thought that was a very good Super Bowl commercial. For any year.
Well, again, I think what the problem with the commercials now, and this is what the future is going to be, is it's going to be something that's simply written because it's fast food writing. There's so many opportunities, so many more commercials, so many of everything that you don't have the time necessarily to write something as crisp as you used to. So the new system is write something quick, get it out, and then just negotiate with the agent to basically have them, to figure out what their price is going to be and have them come into it. I mean, you got Matt Damon to do Bitcoin. That's weird. Worlds collide on that one.
Yeah, and also with the a lot of the companies themselves releasing commercials themselves a few days before the game to try and trend the Super Bowl commercials before they even happen. You potentially could have already seen half the commercials before the game even starts.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Did you guys remember the Planet Fitness commercial with Lindsay Lohan?
Yes.
Okay,
I wouldn't realize it was Lindsay Lohan at first either.
So towards the end of the commercial, they use the line. I don't know if you consciously caught it. But they go, she's turning DUIs into DIYs. And I was like, Planet Fitness. DUIs. Like, I was like, man.
Dude, you know what? Planet Fitness is one of the biggest. Planet Fitness is bizarre to me in so many fronts. How you can have a gym that can have Dennis Rodman and also have pizza day too. But we can get into that one another time. Boy, I would love to, because I would love to basically talk about Planet Fitness and some of the glitches that have happened there. Unfortunately, however, we are out of time. So I got to wrap this up. Thank you as always. I'm Scott Churchson. That is Mr. JD Walker. And down there is Mr. Brandon K. This has been the Sports Den. One more time, you can find us on Twitter at SSW Sports Den and on Instagram and Facebook at Spanglish World Sports Den. Thank you always to you guys. Thank you, Eduardo. Tune in 7 o'clock tonight because we have Lloyd Kaufman coming in on Tales of the Film Set, creator of Toxic Avenger, Trauma, and launcher of careers from such unknown people as Robert De Niro, Samuel Jackson, and James Gunn. So tune in 7 o'clock tonight.
Never
We're
heard
talking
of
to him about his new movie. What's that?
Never heard of those guys.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner. I don't know.
Maybe ring a bell or something.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We will be testing the boundaries and what we're allowed to say on air in this case because of the movie he has coming out. But we're going to deal with that in 2 hours' time. Until then, stay awesome.